Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be discussing about the common problems that you guys are facing and their solutions. Later, we'll start the fundamentals of React Native along with a few components. So let's get started. The first thing that I noticed is that when you guys are working on the terminal, there is a default folder given in your terminal, correct? And when you run the first command, that is when you follow the Expo Routers guide, according to the installation, the first step is creating a project. Am I right? So when you copy this and paste it on your terminal along with the flag that is template space blank and click on enter, it asks you to name your project. After you do that and the project has been successfully installed, it asks you to change the directory into your project folder. Now, what I mean by this is that when you create your project and you name it, you need to run cd space your project name. In my case, my project is called first project, correct? So I'm going to write cd space first project. All right. And now I'm inside my personal projects folder. And now I can follow the remaining guide. Okay, that is from the third step. Now I can install all the dependencies, set up the path and everything. And later I can finally run the second command, that is npx expo start. Now this is the first thing that I wanted to discuss. That is because most of you people were installing the dependencies in the default folder itself and not inside your personal project folder. So I wanted you guys to keep this in mind. And the second thing is that some of you were mentioning that you couldn't see the two-lined output when you run the code. That is because, let me just open this folder. So some of you guys have something called app.js. Okay. In the previous classes, I instructed you to delete this. That is because we won't be needing it. So if app.js exists in your folder, right click on it and click on delete. Now, you have your project folders over here, right? There's blank space over here. Click on that and this entire box gets selected. Let me do that again. If you click on this blank space, you can see this outline. It means the entire project folder is selected. Now, you have options over here, correct? The first one is to create a new file. The second one is to create a new folder. So let's create a new folder and name it app. This needs to be done in lowercase. Click on enter. A new folder is now created inside your project folder. And now click on app, the folder that we just created, and click on the first icon, that is a new file. What we are doing is we are creating the app folder inside our project folder. And inside the app folder, we are creating a file. This will be called index.jsx. Click on enter. This new file is now open. Let me do this. Okay. Now we'll be working on our code over here. So with this, we have covered the common problems, that is the output difference and the terminal issue. So let me just strike this off. And now we'll be working on a few components. So let's do that. Remember in the first class, we instructed you guys to install this terminal, install this extension that was called ES7 Plus. Now, what this does is that the first one, you are supposed to install this and enable it. After you do this, whenever you're working on your files and programs, you can use shortcuts. Now, when you're working on making complex applications, making these tasks simpler is what is recommended. So, you can simply type RNFE. It suggests you, so just click on the first thing and like you can see a basic program is generated. This is called a boilerplate. This is generated to make your task easier so that you don't have to waste your time writing the code from scratch. Okay, now what I'll do is remove all of this. I just wanted you guys to know about this. You can use this later, but for now, we need to understand what this line and this code means. So I'm just going to remove this. And now I'll type it line by line and explain what it means. Okay, I'll just zoom it a little. Now, the first thing that we write is import. Import, inside curly braces, you need to write view with capital V. From, inside double quotations, write React Native. Close it with a semicolon. Now, what this means is that import view. View is a component. All right, I'll tell you what this is later. What we're doing is importing the view component from React Native's package. All right, as simple as that. Go to the next line and now create a constant. It's given in short as const. And what you need to do is give the file's name as the constant's name as index. Since in this case it's index, we'll be giving the const name as index. And later, this is syntax, guys. You need to remember this as it is. First, you give an equal to symbol. Then you give open and closed parenthesis. You give an equal to again and a closed angular bracket. After that, you open curly braces, a set of curly braces, and inside the curly braces, you click enter so that a new line opens up. Now you need to type all the code inside the curly braces. You'll be typing return and a set of parentheses along with a semicolon. Now this is called a function. Return with a parenthesis is called a function. Now whatever you type inside the set of parentheses is what will be displayed on the browser. So now remember we imported the view component in the first line. Let's call it here. So what you need to do is open an angular bracket and type view. Once you close it, the closing tag is automatically generated. Now, these are called tags. The text that is enclosed within angular brackets is called a tag. Now, since this is the opening tag, it can be closed using a slash. All right. This is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. Okay. And now, whatever you give within the view is what will be displayed. Okay. Now, this is simply a container. If you want to display something, suppose text or image or any other links, what you need to do is import something called text. Text is another component that we'll be discussing today. Remember, I had a list of components that we'll discuss. First, we discussed about view. Let's get that out of the way. And now we were discussing about text. I'll show you how it's done. So we just imported text in the first sentence. Now get inside the view tags and type text inside the angular brackets. All right, once you close it, the closing tag is automatically generated. Now, whatever you give inside the text tags will be displayed on the screen. I simply type the word hello. And now you need to come out of the curly braces and click on enter so that a new line comes up. Now type export default index. Now, the reason why we're typing this is because this particular code needs to be exported out of the index file and into the file that will be generated to show us the output. So we are exporting this entire file along with the file's name, that is index in this case. So let's just save it and try running it. To run the command, we use npx expo start. All right, the command has now been run. Let me just show you. So when you click on this particular link along with the control button, like hold the control button and now click on this link, it will be opened on your preferred browser. You can see the text being displayed on the top left corner, hello. That is what we were trying to display in the code. Am I right? So with this, we have covered another component, that is text. Let's get that out of the way. Now we'll be discussing about how to display an image in the code. Let's go back to the code. And now let's include another component. Since image is another component, we'll be including that in the import statement. And now let's go back to the code and let's change the text. Let's say component. Now what you need to do is go to another line and type image. Close it. The closing tag is automatically generated. Now go inside the image tag and click on spacebar. There's a little space here. Now you need to type source. Remember, we are typing this particular source inside the image tag. Alright, inside the image tag. Now click on equal to, and you can give a set of curly braces. Alright. While doing that, just make sure that all of this is included in the opening tag of image. Now, remember in the projects folder, we have a folder for assets. Assets usually hold all the images that we need for our application. So in this case, we have all of these given here. Let's say we are using icon.png in this particular application. So let's import that. Now, how will you do this? There is something called require function. We require this particular image in our application. So let's type the word require along with a set of parentheses. Like you can see, all the redness has, been removed now. Now you can give a set of inverted commas, like single inverted commas, and within that you give dot dot slash. Now, like you can see, there is this suggestion box that is popped here. Let me explain why we do this. Whenever you click two dots and a slash, what it does is navigates us into the directory or in the folder that we want to go in. Now, this is the project folder, correct? If you click on app, this is the file that we are working on currently. And we want to navigate into assets folder to get access to the icon.png image. Am I right? So to do that, you need to type the syntax. For that, you need to type two dots with a slash. And in the suggestions box, you can see all the suggestions popping up for the folder list that we have. We want to get inside the assets folder. So let's click on that, give another slash, and type the image that you want to import particularly. In this case, it's icon.png. So let's type that, icon.png. Okay, that is done. Now just go out of the curly braces. Now, don't you think this image would be too big for the screen? Let's try it out, guys. Now I've saved it. Let's come back to the page. Like you can see, there is the image. It's too big for the screen, am I right? So what you can do is style the image. Just come out of the curly braces, give a little space and type style equal to curly braces. Let me remove this. We have curly braces, and if you type something inside this, you can see the red scribbly lines. That is because this is not the syntax. Whenever you're styling something, you need to give two sets of curly braces. Like you can see, the redness is gone. Now you can type the style that you want to give. In this case, I'll give the simple width and height dimensions to the image so that it looks clear. Just the basic width, that is 100, and height, that is 100. And I'm going to save this program. Now you can see the image is now a little smaller than before, and the dimensions are set. With this, we have completed another component, that is image. And we have also uh, you know put our foot into how styles usually work. Now let's discuss about button. Okay, so let's go back to our code. And now let's remove all of this because we just finished executing this. And now we'll be importing another component that is called button. Let's change the text as well. Button component. And now in the next line, let's open the button tag. Like you can see, the closing tag is now automatically generated. Now, inside of the button's opening tag, you give a little space and you type something called title. Every button has a title, right? It's named as something. So to give that, there is this attribute called title. Give an equal to symbol and two double quotations. Inside this, you can write anything that you want to, name your button as. In this case, I'll write click here because that's why buttons are usually used for. Now let's simply save it and try running it. Like you can see, a normal functional button is here. Mind this, guys, this is just the UI. It won't be doing any operations at the back end. There's just a simple UI button. Now you can go back to the code, and now let's try giving styles in a different way because we just completed the button component. Let's get that out of the way. Now the final task for the day would be discussing how styles work. So let's get started with that. All right, so let's go back to the code and remove all of this. Now let's import something called style sheet. And let's give some basic text over here. And let's just copy this over here. And 2024, because that is the date of today. Now this is something basic, right? You can see the text being displayed, but it's all in smaller font size and it's being displayed on the top left corner. It's too bland. So to make that more lively and colorful and bigger, what we can do is style the text. Now we just imported something called a style sheet. Now let's put that to use. What you need to do is you can see the set of curly braces, right? You need to come out of it, like uh, give a little space, and now type const styles equal to style sheet uh, dot create with a set of parentheses and a curly braces. You click on enter. Now let me explain what this means. This is the simple syntax. Remember, here we created a function that was named as index. Here we are creating something called styles because we'll be styling each and every text using this. And the style sheet that we imported from here was called over here. We use the dot create function so that we can style all of the text using whatever attributes and whatever styling that we want using this particular function. So now let's call this styles dot heading. Since this is the heading, let's call it heading. And now let's go back to the style sheets function and let's start typing. We'll be giving the style individually to every single component. Okay. So remember, here we gave styles.heading. Styles is the constant's name. So we'll be calling it over here. Dot heading. Heading is like the individual styling that we'll give to this particular component, this particular line. That is the fifth line. We'll be getting the heading style. Okay. So I just simply wrote heading over here and gave colon along with curly braces. Now, if you click on enter, the new line will show up, and now you can type whatever styling that you want to give to this particular text. In this case, I'll be giving a simple font size as 28. And remember guys, every single line needs to be end with a comma. And then you can justify content. That means where do you want to place your content on the screen? And then you can align the items. Where do you want to align it? It usually gives you all the suggestions, that is center or baseline. In this, I just want it to be in the middle. So I'll select center. And now let me just close this as well and save this. Let's try going back to the code. Now you can see that the hello world text is slightly bigger. So let's keep doing this guys so that we get our desired output. So now let's try styling the date as well. Okay. We repeat the same thing. We use the style attribute inside the text tag and we give a set of curly braces. Then we write styles dot date. Since this is the date line, I'll simply write date for clarity. And here, remember we just style the heading. After the comma ends, click on enter so that you come to the new line. And now let's simply type date because now the date line is what will style right now. So let's just say background color. Let's give it another color as pink. And then let's change the font size as well. You don't need, okay guys, mind that numbers do not need inverted commas, only string. That is, if you have some word value, that needs to be enclosed within double quotations. But if it's a number, you can simply write it as it is. And in this case, I'll be writing 30 as the font size and then background color. Okay, we just gave that. So let's just say color as white. This is done. Now let's save this. To save, we press Ctrl and S together. Now you can see the background color. That means the background of this particular text component is pink and the color, which means the font's color, is white. So this is how you can style your components. Let me minimize this so that you can see the entire code. This is how you usually import all the components in the first sentence from which package React Native's package. And then we create a const function that is with the file's name itself. This is called an arrow function where equal to parenthesis, another equal to with a closed angular bracket, and all the code is returned inside the curly braces. That ends over here. Alright. Now, inside of this, we give a return function in which we type the entire code and this values will be returned on the browser, that is here. The code that is typed inside the return function's parenthesis will be returned and view component is used to uh, make sure that all the other components are properly collected and presented within it. And then you have the text component which simply displays text. We also discussed how to use the image component and then we discussed how to style all of it and how to create a simple button. So that is it for this video guys. In case you guys have any further questions, you can contact us or drop your doubts in the community in the doubts group. And happy learning guys.